En fait, là, elle est déjà en train de... Elle est partie. Elle est déjà en train de dessiner. Juste le temps qu'ils se mettent en place. Elle utilise le même logiciel qui a été utilisé pour faire Dear Angelica. Et donc, elle travaille sur Quill, qui est le logiciel d'Oculus. Et elle va peindre en direct pour que vous voyez comment ça se crée.
Hi. Here's how this is going to work. I wanted to give a VR demo while telling you the story of my time working in VR. But it's really hard to make work in VR while you speak. And honestly, I fucking hate demos. People want you to get in the headset and move around dynamically like a dancer and be a woman or a person of color, or both, because the optics have to be right, because let's remember this technology is for everyone, and bring the brave new reality to the people and their almost dead relatives who have never felt anything like the thrill of playing Overwatch. And to represent a product that covers most of your face in a way that's totally not effacing or dystopian, but magical. Let me tell you, VR is not magical. So I figured I would give a talk by not talking, or by virtually talking. And if you want, you can listen. But if not, just look at the pretty pictures on the screen for about 15 minutes and know that I'm working in real time, which is cool in and of itself, and that my voice was recorded last weekend in Los Angeles. Later, you're going to ask me some questions. And if you don't have any questions, I'm probably just going to leave. Okay. So I'm Wesley ALLSBROOK, and I'm an artist who uses VR software every day to make her work. I want to be clear that none of this is advice for you. I was having a drink with Chris and Sijin Bazzelli, and they're my mentors, kind of. And Chris was giving me advice, and he was saying you should never listen to another illustrator's advice on career. And I think that's a really valid perspective. So this is not advice. And I can't be like these people who get on stage and express perfect enthusiasm for the future of VR and of entertainment and of media. Media in its current and all future forms for all eternity, on this and other planets, life-sustaining or not, throughout the known universe or universes. Because that is what you sell when you make work in this business. There are people who can do that for you, who can, feel happy while they're doing this. And I love VR, let me be clear, but not like that. Still, I know that it's a privilege to be in virtual reality in any way, to work in VR, to have ever seen a Rift in real life. You have to be doing okay for yourself. Or someone did okay for you, which is fine. Every morning before I get into the headset, I burn some Palo Santo to dispel all the bad energy. And I definitely did not know what Palo Santo was before I came to San Francisco. Rift and Touch at their release cost about $600. And now you can get them for $400. Or, if it's Black Friday, probably a lot less. A PC that will run Rift, a Rift min-spec machine or better, will cost you anywhere from $1,200 to $2,500, although that's getting better with every quarter. This kind of VR, the kind that I'm doing up here, has always had what you'd call access issues. Like all the best things. What you see here is what we call positional VR.
I don't get it. I thought you said this was all just a bunch of holograms. If it's holograms...
I disengage the safety protocols.
It's like the holodeck, but with cords. It's the best of what's possible in virtual reality at this time. Market leaders are Oculus, HTC Vive, PSVR, and at this point, about 7 million positional rigs have been sold. Which seems like a lot, but not to people like Mark Zuckerberg.
It's smoking, so I'm the meat chef.
Who demanded a cordless headset when he saw the numbers from Rift sales for 2016.
Smoking these meats here.
People have wanted VR, or the feeling of not being in a place where they are forever. I mean, you can look at all of art history, but let's start in the 1790s with the Cosmorama. The 1830s, we get stereoscopes. In the 1930s, we get those Viewmaster things. And in the 1950s, 3D film. This desire is not going to leave us. The Center for Enthusiasm for Positional VR was between 2014 and 2016. Now we're in the quote-unquote winter of VR. People have moved on to speculating on augmented reality, that's AR, for mobile devices, and are sticking to those trusty dusty 360 videos, which you can watch on a cardboard if you want. Personally, I don't think that VR development is dead. Half of my friends at this point are VR developers. It's just more of a creator space, but perhaps not the healthiest one, for now. I came to Oculus Story Studio at the end of 2015. Oculus Story Studio was a company that used narrative VR as the impetus for software development that would push the form and the marketplace forward. Everyone at Story Studio had animation and games production backgrounds. They came from places like EA, Industrial Light and Magic, DreamWorks, Pixar, and Weta. The guy who did all of the fluid dynamics for the Lord of the Rings movies, and that scene in the third to the last Harry Potter movie with the underground burning lake sat right across from me. This team liked to think of itself as the best in the business. And I don't think that that was necessarily inaccurate. I had been an editorial illustrator for 10 years. People said that they liked my work, but I didn't. I hated myself and I hated my life. From about 2013, I had found it impossible to maintain a consistent address for more than 4 months. I had just sold a graphic novel with someone who I would later discover to be a serial rapist. And then this German dude asked me up to his fancy apartment in the West Village and put me in a 360 headset with some of Gillian Tamaki's sketches, which were super beautiful. After which a British son of a baron asked me if I wanted to have more money than I had ever had at once to do just a little work for hire concept art for this VR movie that they were making called Dear Angelica. They wanted to make what they called illustrative VR, but no one on that team had any idea what that meant. So, Dear Angelica. Dear Angelica is a 13-minute walkable story, or comic in my mind, about a daughter grieving for her mother in the form of a letter. The twist is that the dead mother is an actress. So the piece is about public and private love, movie stories and real stories, and for me, the difference between media and reality, the emotional dissonance of living in both of those worlds at once. Gina Davis plays the mom.
My husband wasn't sweet to me. Look how I turned out. Now go on.
And Mae Whitman plays the daughter.
Roxy, you know this girl?
Oh boy, does she know me.
What is she talking
It's an artsy
about?
piece about women that got accidentally hugely funded by a hardware and software company created to serve the needs of gamers. Of course, I'm talking about Oculus, which directly funded Oculus Story Studio. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So I visited San Francisco and I did some concept art like they wanted to gray box and prove out look of picture, which are production terms that I had never heard before. And everything was going very, very badly. I did full boards and we were projecting scans of my inks onto geometry, and I was breaking my scans down by the stroke for all kinds of animation tests that basically looked like absolute shit. I was worried that I was going to be fired, and I really wanted that money. Then this engineer, Inigo Kies, made this program that allowed me to draw in space, which I'm using here on the screen. We named it Quill, after him, and I became Quill User 0. Drawing in this way, as I'm drawing now, changed my life. To be able to draw like this, I was willing to do anything. I broke up with my boyfriend, which I had really kind of been meaning to do anyway, and I left New York and I moved to San Francisco with less than $3,000 in my primary checking account. I entered production. Everything that happens to women in tech happened to me. Before my PO came in, 2 out of 3 heads of studio asked me on dates. I was excluded from meetings where I should have been present. I heard my ideas presented by others. I got sidelined. People hugged me from behind and photographed me without my consent. I slept in the office while I waited for my lump sum because startups are not really equipped to relocate new hires. I would eventually become a full-time contractor, and as the co-creator of Dear Angelica, at this extremely well-funded and some would say bloated tech startup, make $36 an hour. The highest earners at the studio made more than $250,000 a year. Oculus PR prevented me from self-promoting while I was under their employ, despite the fact that I was a contractor with no job security or health insurance. This is, in fact, illegal in the state of California. But at the time, none of this mattered to me. I couldn't really feel any of it at first because the tech was so exciting to me. Understanding and ideally breaking division of labor in production was exciting to me. Using Quill, I felt strongly that one artist or a small, convivial team of collaborators could make every single asset for Dear Angelica. And not just Dear Angelica, and not just VR, but any other form of media. And if that were the case, I could have more control over not just look a picture, but content in general, story. People balked at this at first, because this is not how things had been done at other established places where they'd been employed before. This is not a traditional approach to pipeline in any way, shape, or form. But for me, having more than one role was simply necessary to what I thought of at that time as my artistic practice. Control and singularity of vision, autonomy and individuality. These are things that I love about drawing and writing and freelancing in general, and that is the thing that continues to excite me the most about the potential of VR, the potential to bring more human workflow to animation production pipelines. Because what I see when I speak to artists in production is an intense occupational dissatisfaction, not just with the constraints of the power structure and environments in which they work, but with their sense of identity. Many people want to do story and character and backgrounds all at once and to claim authorship and be recognized for all that they can offer. There is a small scale at which I feel that production teams are most content. And it would be nice if that scale could also be efficient. And it's my hope that VR tech could change workflow in a way that might increase artists' well-being while allowing them to be compensated fairly as well. Like maybe if they made as much as their managers, that would be a start. So that's how we finished Dear Angelica. Little epilogue here. I became co-creator with Sashka Unseld and Angela Petrella. We built new software and a new story from the ground up. I worked with a CG supervisor, a production manager, 1 to 3 asset managers, 2 to 3 VFX artists, an animator, a game designer, 2 sound designers, a composer, 1 to 3 QA people. So, okay, this is still a pretty big team from the way that I'm describing it, but really small compared to most animation teams. We premiered at Sundance, went to Venice, won at Raindance. We were Emmy nominated, and we just won a Peabody. Dear Angelica, with its $3 million budget and Story Studio, represented a very particular time in VR, and now that time is over. Since I left Story Studio in 2016, I've worked with Warner Brothers, Porsche, Discovery, Google, Maria Bello Productions, and her and Celine Tricart's piece about Yazidi women, which also went to Sundance. And I'm very much not alone. Artists all over the world are working in the headset, and we still have a long way to go in terms of supporting their use of a medium in a marketplace that might be going to seed. Tilt Brush offers a commercial license, but Quill and Medium do not. it's technically illegal to profit from the sale or license of work made in these programs. If artists can't own their work and they don't have the protections of a full-time job, they won't work. And what's more, they'll be unhappy. And tech is teaching us all to be contractors. So it's my feeling that we need to find a new way to sell our work, and that's what my current work in virtual reality is all about. Okay, so thanks for listening. Now I'm gonna actually come out of the headset and hopefully answer a few questions.
Merci Wesley. Donc n'hésitez pas si vous avez des questions. Moi j'en ai une. Est-ce que je peux piquer la place à tout le monde? Parce que j'ai pas pu la poser tout à l'heure. Tout le monde avait trop de questions. I have one question I wanted to ask.
Okay.
Yeah. When you draw, you like touching here, touching there, touching, and just like spots everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time when you see people drawing on paper,
mm-hmm.
there is a structure there. You can see like
mm-hmm.
rules. And how do you feel all the space and all your drawing? How do you feel the entire drawing? I'm translating. Du coup, ce qui me pose question, parce que ça fait 3 fois que je vis la même expérience avec Wesley depuis hier soir, et j'ai jamais pu lui poser la question, donc c'est pour ça que je vous ai piqué la place. Elle est tout le temps en train de faire des points, des traits, elle revient sur la fontaine, elle repart, elle fait un arbre, elle repart. Et je lui demandais comment elle faisait, puisque j'ai l'habitude de voir des gens dessiner, puisque je travaille dans le dessin animé, et souvent ils ont une structure, il y a des techniques, ils font d'abord un croquis, puis après ils affinent. Bon. Alors que là, j'ai l'impression qu'elle va un peu partout, et je lui demandais comment elle faisait pour avoir en tête la totalité du dessin et pour construire.
To begin a piece, I always start at a fraction of the intended scale.
Pour commencer une œuvre, elle commence toujours par une fraction de tout ce qu'elle veut faire.
I usually begin with grayscale also. It's good to establish value structure before you establish global color.
Elle commence tout le temps en noir et blanc.
And also, I like to keep all the objects in a scene on different layers.
Elle laisse tous les objets dans la scène, elle met les objets sur différents niveaux, calques.
And I spend a lot of time in situ, kind of making sure that everything feels right, and add detail and color after the architecture is good.
Ok, donc elle fait d'abord l'architecture, et une fois qu'elle a bien vérifié que tout était structuré correctement, là elle met les détails et les couleurs. Merci.
Thank you.
Over. How many people like you are able to do this kind of art with this technology in the world?
Combien de gens sont capables de faire ce genre d'art dans le monde?
There's an entire community of people making work in this way. Quill is now available for everybody who has a rift, and illegally for people who have Vives.
Donc il y a une très grande communauté à travers le monde. Quill est un logiciel qui est sur tous les Oculus Rift, et vous pouvez aussi l'avoir illégalement avec un crack sur Vive. Donc voilà ça.
Thanks. There's a big boom in what is called direct VR creation tools.
Il y a un big boom, donc il y a un gros engouement pour la création en live en VR.
Not only for drawing and sculpting, but for animation, rigging and pipeline.
Alors, attends, dans l'ordre. Non seulement pour dessiner, mais animer, sculpter et je sais plus la suite. Voilà, quoi, pour plein de choses. Pardon.
Et si vous voulez les voir, vous pouvez search hashtag VR Art sur Instagram peut-être, ou right now I'm in a show called Spatial Realities in Los Angeles with at least like 20 other VR artists.
Elle est dans un show aux États-Unis, oui, à San Francisco, je crois, où il y a 20 autres artistes qui font de la réalité virtuelle avec elle.
And many people are also trying to figure out how to monetize VR assets.
Beaucoup de gens réfléchissent à comment ils peuvent rendre rentable et vendre des assets en réalité virtuelle, donc des objets en réalité virtuelle.
And introduce them to museum culture. Right now at the Los Angeles Contemporary Museum of Art, there is an exhibit about the evolution of 3D technology, culminating in VR art.
Donc ça commence à aller aussi dans les musées, et donc au musée de
l'ACMA.
Voilà. Il y a actuellement une exposition sur l'évolution de la 3D vers la réalité virtuelle.
Hello, thank you for your performance. I want just to know why you working with the stroke in animate, because for me it's difficult to project the drawing of the final draw.
Ah oui, pardon. Tu peux la dire en français aussi si
Oui, non, je demandais en fait pourquoi elle travaillait avec un trait qui s'animait tout le temps en fait. Et moi j'avais eu du mal à me projeter sur le dessin final avec tous les traits qui étaient animés, qui bougeaient plus quoi. Voilà ça.
When I create a static scene that's also animated, I like to do it as an accumulation of strokes.
Quand elle fait un dessin qui doit être animé aussi, elle aime bien le faire avec une accumulation de strokes. What is it? C'est les traits, oui, voilà.
And as you could probably tell, the scene had already been completed, but I still need to entertain you guys and give you something to look at.
Et en fait, la scène qu'elle a là, elle est quasi complète, et en fait, elle doit faire encore des choses pour que vous ayez des choses à regarder, en fait.
For me, the most exciting part of Quill is its ability to draw back into active frames. And so I find it to be the most entertaining, but perhaps you disagree.
What does it mean to draw in active?
The frames are playing at about 12 frames per second, and I was drawing in a layer with about like 60 frames. And so the frames play, like the strokes are animating, but I can also draw back into them as they play.
Ah, ok. Pardon, j'avais pas compris ce qu'elle disait, donc j'ai demandé de préciser parce que je comprenais. En fait, c'est ultra technique. Mais donc en gros, pendant qu'elle dessine, ça s'anime. Donc ça s'anime à 12 frames par seconde. Et elle peint à 56 frames. Je ne sais plus si j'ai pas inversé les deux, mais bon. Et donc, en fait, ce qu'elle aime, c'est revenir en arrière pour re-animer sur ce qui est déjà animé et refaire des boucles comme ça.
Est-ce que vous utilisez Kill at all? Do you use it?
Not at all.
It's fun. You like it.
Thank you, Wesley. I think the performance was really interesting, and also the I happened to see the Dear Angelica before on the thing, and it was really impressive.
Oh, thank you.
Something
That's
totally
great.
different. And I wanted to see what's your view on how this is going to impact the way we watch movies, we actually use our free time to see entertainment.
Elle lui demande l'impact qu'elle pense que ça va avoir sur notre façon de voir les films, etc.
I hope that I can make full-length interactive environments like this.
Elle espère qu'un jour on pourra faire des longs métrages de films interactifs comme celui-ci.
But without the constraints of cinematic timing.
Mais sans les contraintes de la cinématique timing. I don't know, it's technical again.
Sorry.
So what is cinematic timing?
Fixed timing. You will notice that Dear Angelica pulls you through its action.
Oui.
It has a distinct beginning and ending that is tied to its soundtrack.
Ah, ok. En fait, oui. Ok.
I always.
So, in fact, even, même si c'est interactif parce qu'on peut bouger dans la scène, c'est quand même, vous êtes dans une trame narrative qui est fixe et on vous oblige à aller d'un point A à un point B, etc. Et elle espère qu'on puisse dépasser ça.
And something I have always wanted from media is to be able to stop time and explore and to feel the world that the creators have made for me is large and that it's a place that I can enter.
Oh, ok, you hope something really high level. Donc en fait, elle, ce qu'elle aimerait depuis longtemps, c'est que les créations arrêtent le temps et qu'il n'y ait plus la notion de temps et qu'on puisse plonger dans les œuvres d'un artiste sans cette limitation et cette contrainte. Donc c'est un bon objectif.
Like a video game, but one where all the focus is on environmental detail and embedding narrative in that environment.
Comme un jeu vidéo, mais dans lequel ça serait l'environnement qui serait le plus fort et dans lequel la narration serait incrustée. Et je sais plus la phrase.
Encrusted.
Oh, I don't know. Embedded, I don't know how to say.
It doesn't matter. I think it's cool.
I try. It's not my job.
It's good. You're good at it. You're really good at it.
So I forgot the end of the sentence.
No, it doesn't. It's my fault.
No.
C'est ma faute.
You can speak in French.
Yes.
The
Bonjour.
shadow guy who spent all day long.
Je me cache là derrière.
Shadow Man.
As a question.
J'avais une question. Il me semble qu'il y a des applications en VR où on peut finalement être plusieurs dans une même VR et vivre une expérience côte à côte. Je voulais savoir si c'est quelque chose qui existait sur Quill ou qui potentiellement pourrait exister. Qu'est-ce que ça pourrait donner de pouvoir avoir ce genre de performance à 1, 2, 3 artistes qui seraient peut-être côte à côte, chacun dans un casque, mais dans une même scène.
Aide-moi.
Okay, he knows that it exists multiplayer in VR.
Yes.
Is it existing with Quill, and if not, is it possible it will one day? Or
It is on Quill's roadmap. So I believe that you will see that feature in Quill and many other direct drawing tools.
C'est prévu, mais c'est pas encore. Donc elle pense que ça va arriver un jour.
Like in the next year and a half, probably.
Dans un an et demi, peut-être.
Du coup, tu es très dépendante de la technique. Et donc, je voulais savoir si tu savais coder. Et si parfois, tu avais été frustrée parce que l'outil ne correspondait pas à ce que tu voulais faire ou...
Is it frustrating not to code?
Yeah, do you know how to code? And if not, were you frustrated not to know and you wanted to...
I don't know how to code, and yes, but...
Et oui, elle est frustrée. Ben, comme tout le monde.
For 1 year, I had a team of engineers who were listening to me, which is more than a lot of people get ever. So I'm trying to learn But I'm also making friends with more engineers who want to make things like I want to make.
Donc en fait, elle a eu quand même la chance pendant 1 an d'avoir une équipe d'ingénieurs à ses ordres un peu. Donc c'était quand même pas mal parce que ça arrive pas à tout le monde. Et là maintenant, elle est devenue aussi amie avec des gens qui codent, qui voudraient bien faire ce qu'elle fait.
Bonjour, je voulais savoir quelles sont ses aspirations. Donc, je suppose qu'elle doit avoir des aspirations avec d'autres artistes, mais est-ce que par exemple il y a des films ou de la musique, des groupes qui l'inspirent dans le domaine du dessin?
What artists in film, movies, drawings inspired you?
As far as film goes, I
have to know all your movies you're going to say, so I have to be really focused.
Okay. Well, mostly I was going to mention things like Diary of a Teenage Girl. Or
Diary of a Teenage Girl, do you know? Quoi, tu connais? Moi, je connais pas. Journal intime d'une adolescente. Je sais pas comment c'est le titre en français. Because it's difficult, you know. Maybe the title is not the
literal translation. Well, what's important about pieces like that is the way that they integrate animation with live action.
Ce qui l'importe dans ces films, c'est la façon dont ils intègrent l'animation dans la prise de vue réelle.
I like surrealism as a narrative approach, but also as an approach with media.
Elle aime beaucoup le surréalisme en tant qu'approche narrative, mais aussi en tant que média.
So things like Broad City or Man Seeking Woman, things that use metaphor to describe a social issue, perhaps.
Les choses qui utilisent des métaphores pour parler de problèmes sociaux. Je ne sais pas si c'est vraiment ça la traduction, je suis désolée. Mais,
Non, c'est parfait.
Hello.
Oui.
Thank you for the performance. It was to know if, with the tool, if it's hard to work with this kind of tool every day, and if you need some lot of break on the work day, because it's very particular.
Il lui demande juste si c'est dur de travailler dans ce casque toute la journée. Quoi, s'il faut faire des pauses ou pas.
I usually work about 5 days a week in the headset.
5 jours par semaine dans le casque.
And about 5 hours a day.
5 heures par jour.
I take breaks for the usual things. And I could be like having some memory and maybe some slight vision problems, but also I'm aging, so who knows?
Ok, elle fait des pauses et des fois elle a des petits problèmes de vue, mais bon, comme elle commence à devenir âgée, elle ne sait pas ce qui en est la cause.
But yeah, as you know, whenever you're in Oculus, you see that health and safety warning that absolves them of all responsibility for my potential issues with VR and yours. So, you know, it's a foregone conclusion. If my health gets worse, I can't do anything about it.
En fait, quand on met un casque, il y a plein de recommandations et de attention. Donc de toute façon, même si elle a un problème, elle ne pourra pas faire.
C'est une question un peu idiote, mais comment on arrête un dessin dans un univers qui n'est pas arrêté? À partir de quel moment on se dit là c'est bon?
How do you stop to draw in an unlimited space?
You don't have to. Ce n'est pas nécessaire.
Yeah, but when do you say okay, it's fine, now it's finished?
When the work is due.
Quand il faut rendre le travail. So production manager is not that bad.
Production managers are great.
Non, parce qu'elle critique beaucoup les les directeurs de prod, et donc je lui dis, ils sont pas si mal que ça finalement. Non, c'est pas. C'est parce que c'est mon métier en fait, donc voilà.
Et aussi, like every project has its own like needs and limitations.
Et tous les projets ont leurs besoins et leurs limites, donc c'est ce qui compte.
Except même que mes projets personnels.
Oui, à part ces projets personnels.
Yeah.
En fait, je voulais juste savoir si aujourd'hui, s'il fallait refaire Dear Angelica, est-ce que tu referais la même chose? Est-ce qu'il y a des choses qui changeraient? Est-ce qu'entre-temps, je veux dire, la réflexion créative, le processus créatif, quelque part, il continue pas? Et comment ça se transmet aussi dans les autres projets?
How would I change Dear Angelica, and or what are my future projects?
If you had to do Dear Angelica today, what would you change?
Everything.
And how did it impact the new projects?
None of the projects after Dear Angelica were as ambitious or as expensive as Dear Angelica.
Aucun des autres projets après Dear Angelica était aussi ambitieux et cher.
And the thing about Dear Angelica's production was that we were doing creative development while we were doing software development, and while we were doing animation.
Et le truc spécial de Dear Angelica, c'est qu'il faisait du développement artistique en même temps qu'il faisait du développement de logiciels et en même temps qu'il faisait du développement narratif. Non, je sais plus. Le dernier, c'était ça. Ah non, de l'animation, pardon. J'invente.
I forget things. See, bad memory. But the thing about VR projects is they are considered to be perhaps too long-lived if they are worked on after 6 to 9 months. So,
pardon, sorry.
Dans les projets VR, il faut dans ce marketplace.
Oui, ce marketplace.
Ce
marché, pardon.
Ça, ce marché.
Excusez-moi, je suis beaucoup
dans ce marché, il faut que on les finisse à
en fait, il faut que ça soit fini à moins de 16 mois.
Alors, it's difficult to have money for creative development.
Donc, c'est difficile d'avoir de l'argent pour du développement créatif.
So, yeah. It has everything to do with money, though. Let's see. I mean, for me, it's more about who I work with and who I don't. I don't really work with men a lot anymore unless I have a significant creative role from the outset.
With who are you not working anymore?
Well, I mean, Story Studio is dead.
Yeah.
But I don't work with
men at all. A man.
Les hommes.
Ouais, ok, I understood, but I wanted to. Donc elle travaille plus avec les hommes du tout. Donc c'est pour ça que j'ai eu du mal à comprendre ce qu'elle voulait dire.
Il faut que it's necessary for them to be like, okay, these are the constraints of your job, because with Dear Angelica, the constraints of my job that I entered with were very, very small, and they expanded exponentially. But I was credited for, less than what was done.
En fait, du coup, elle dit que elle peut travailler avec eux, si j'ai bien compris. Mais si c'est bien défini, parce qu'en gros, sur Dear Angelica, elle a été embauchée pour faire quelque chose, pour faire ça. Et finalement, elle a fait ça. Et elle a été créditée pour ça. Donc, en fait, je pense qu'elle s'est fait arnaquer. Et donc, en fait, elle veut plus se faire arnaquer. Et c'était des hommes, visiblement.
So my creative process is all about misandry.
Donc son process créatif est tout about. Je suis vraiment désolée. Tout autour de la misandrie.
It's a joke, but it's a little true.
C'est juste une blague. Ne partez pas si vous êtes un homme.
What?
I said, if you are a man, don't leave the room.
Yeah, you're safe.
C'est bon, vous êtes en sécurité. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Merci Wesley, beaucoup.